Moderator, it is my privilege as Chairman to report to the General Assembly, and I lay on the table the annual report and financial statements of the Investors Trust for the year ended 31st December 2014.
Thank you.
I'm pleased to say that markets were generally favourable during 2014, and so I'm able to report that the Trust has had a reasonably satisfactory year. The managers of our growth fund earned us a total return of 7.9% after fees during 2014, which was a little behind the benchmark by which we measure their performance. However, they are ahead of their benchmark over the longer periods of 3 and 5 years, and they've made a good start to this year by being ahead of benchmark for Q1. The managers of the income fund earned us a total return of 11.8% after fees, a creditable performance compared with their benchmark of 11.2%. They too are ahead of benchmark over the 3 years they've been managing the fund for us, and they too have made a good start to this year by being ahead of benchmark in Q1. Fuller details of the performance of our fund are, of course, available on the Church's website, and I hope all of our investors will by now have seen a copy of our annual review, which is also available for download on the website. Since income is so important to our investors, I'd like to comment on it in a little more detail. Our growth fund earned 16.1 pence per unit, much less than last year, mainly because we received no special dividends this year compared with around a penny's worth last year, and because currency fluctuations reduced the value of our foreign income when it was converted into sterling. We will, however, maintain the distribution at 16.75 pence by drawing on reserves. For this year, we have set our managers an income target of 16.5 pence per unit, but we intend to maintain the distribution at 16.75 pence per unit in the absence of unforeseen circumstances. Other things being equal, we'd expect the income per unit to rise over time to fully cover the distribution. Our income fund earned 53 pence per unit, enabling us to maintain the distribution rate of 50 pence per unit and add a little to reserves. Present indications are that the income per unit on this fund will fall a little in 2015, but we'd hope to be able to maintain the distribution at 50 pence per unit. Our deposit fund continues to suffer from the low interest rate environment, which the authorities have maintained now for the last 6 years. Even with the benefit of investing for longer periods of up to a year, the managers could only earn 0.56% during 2014. I cannot promise that 2015 will be any better, although practically all the pundits agree that rates will go up eventually. I'm afraid that in economics or macroeconomics, the only certainty is uncertainty, and I would urge all of our investors to review their choice of funds regularly. While we work hard to achieve satisfactory returns on the monies entrusted to us, we give all of our managers ethical guidelines which preclude them from investing in such trades as tobacco and alcohol. We also encourage them to invest in firms which benefit society more than they harm it. And this is a more difficult part of their remit to implement, while also meeting our other investment criteria. In recent years, a wider range of entities has been raising money by issuing bonds or tradable loans. The managers of our income fund have taken advantage of this to buy the bonds, for instance, of MenCap, the learning disability charity, John Lewis, the employee-owned retailer, and several social housing providers. Last year, we were asked from the floor to invest more in mutually owned firms. Royal London, the managers of our income fund, are the UK's largest mutual insurer in the UK. Last year also, I reported that we were reviewing our communications with our investors, and there were some helpful suggestions from the floor of the Assembly. In previous years, we've held a fringe event during Assembly Week during one of the lunch breaks when our fund managers gave short presentations and trustees and officers were available to meet investors. Attendance at these meetings has never been good, even when our presentation here came before lunch and we were able to publicise it beforehand. This year, we are planning to hold our May meeting, which is the nearest we get to an annual general meeting, after Assembly Week this week in 121. It will be a week today on Friday 29th at 11:30 in 121 George Street. And we're offering a buffet lunch afterwards. As before, all of our managers will be making short presentations and trustees and officers will be available to meet with individual investors individually. I do hope commissioners will pass this invitation on to congregational treasurers and suggest, or is that urge, or perhaps instruct, that they join us. We have, of course, already written to them personally to invite them. Last year, we experimented with a second meeting in December using the same format. I'm pleased to report that this was well supported, and so we intend to repeat it again this year. And we plan to hold the meeting in Glasgow to make it more convenient for our investors in the West. We have also started putting quarterly reports for each of the funds on the website, and of course the officers and I are always happy to talk to investors and potential investors at any time. Taken together, I hope that these actions have made it easier for investors to monitor their investments and to reach a decision on any changes to them. I should like to end by thanking all of my fellow trustees for giving their time and talents so generously to the Trust. Taken together, they have a formidable range of experience. We are also very well served by the Church's staff, who work hard behind the scenes to ensure our affairs run smoothly. This year, echoing John's remark earlier, I should like to pay a special tribute to the General Treasurer, who has been a tower of strength to me and to the Trust. I will embarrass him privately later, but we will miss him greatly. Moderator, I submit the report and accounts of the Investors' Trust, and as I am not a commissioner, I ask that one of the clerks moves the deliverance.